Excellent. Hi, everyone. I am so thrilled to join you as part of your orientation program. I'm going to introduce myself and tell you a little bit more about this session in a moment, but I want to give you a heads up that we have made the chat and question and answer feature inactive for now, just because we have limited time together. So I'm going to focus on providing some information that I hope you find helpful, and then invite you to join the academic advising team this afternoon. We're doing some drop-ins, particularly for new students. I'll give you details about that later on. But I invite you to join us for that Zoom session if you do have any questions that cover topics that were not addressed today, and in particular about your fall schedule. So just to give you a sense of what we're going to cover in the next half hour or so, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. We're going to talk about the Bentley curriculum at a very high level and some developmental expectations that come along with your Bentley experience, and in particular this first year. Want to touch upon some academic opportunities that you probably will want to begin exploring this year. Talk about what's on your to-do list for this fall and beyond as you start to get settled into Bentley and learn more about kind of what may define your Bentley experience. Want to touch also on the course modalities that we are using for this fall because that's probably an area that would be helpful to offer some clarification if there are any questions about that. And then really want to focus on your fall schedule, and if you are looking to make some changes, how do you navigate the add, drop, and swap process? So that's where we're headed over the next little bit. My name is Val Como, and I am one of the academic advisors in undergraduate academic services. I happen to be a Bentley alum. I earned my degree in management many years ago, back when Bentley was still Bentley College. I'm headed toward my 13th work anniversary at Bentley. My first 8 years of university, I worked as an admission counselor in the Office of Undergraduate Admission. And then for almost the past 5 years, I've been enjoying my time as an academic advisor. So there's a lot of information contained here, but I invite you to look at it kind of as a very high level roadmap over the next 4 years. And what this table does is it outlines year by year, what are the courses that are typically completed in that period of time? And then what are the other things that you're going to be working on to kind of navigate your way through all things Bentley, and particularly from an academic perspective. So if we hone in on the first year, you can see probably a lot of very similar courses to what's reflected in your fall schedule. So that's the outline of, in particular, the GB courses that are required for this year and the general education requirements that are typically completed in a student's first year. And then I want to direct your attention to the column to the right of that. So that's starting to highlight some of the things that you also want to focus on in addition to your studies. So first, and this is key, and obviously what you're starting to do now, is your transition to university life. There are some ways that your college experience may be quite similar to your high school years, and then many other ways where it's probably going to be quite different. So getting settled in, getting comfortable as part of the Bentley community and learning how and where to find things is going to be a key task, I think, for you for this fall, and we're happy to be a resource as you go about doing so. The next two, your study skills and time management, are one area that, or I should say 2 areas that really impact your academics. There are probably many study skills that you used in high school that are going to serve you very well throughout your time at Bentley. There may also be some changes that you need to make, just to reflect that the nature of your courses are different, how they're structured, how they're delivered. So I encourage you to spend some time this fall to, explore different avenues for how you approach your studies. Again, build upon what's always worked well for you, but be open to making some tweaks as needed based on how you find your classes here. Time management certainly impacts your coursework, but also impacts, I think, all elements of your college life. One of the biggest changes as a college student is that you're probably spending quite a bit less time attending class as you did in high school. And so that presents the opportunity for you to have a lot more free time, whether that's to get involved in extracurricular activities, to meet your fellow Bentley students. But it can also present the challenge of your days getting away from you and suddenly being up against a deadline just because you filled your time with other things. So I think really taking a close look at how you approach time management this fall, again, being open to making changes that might serve you better as a college student, will be key to your transition to university life. We definitely want you to explore your interests this year, whether that's in terms of academic opportunities or campus involvement. There's a virtual activities fair that I hope you all attend next Friday. That's going to be a great way for you to begin to identify some organizations that you might want to be a part of. And then, of course, doing some research about study abroad opportunities, if that's of interest to you, or LSM planning. More on both of those in a moment. But I hope this starts to present an overview of kind of how you might spend your time this year, both in terms of specific courses you might take, and then some other ways that you might kind of set the foundation for your Bentley experience. In terms of those academic opportunities, this is essentially a list of all of our current majors. There's 26 of them total. I present this just to give you a sense of the wide variety of majors that are available to you. Students do not typically declare a major until sophomore year. And so what that does is it provides you with time to take a variety of courses, to explore your interests, to talk with faculty, to attend events on campus, whether that's virtually or in person. Throughout the campus community, you'll find a series of events being offered that might help you decipher which major would be a good fit for you. Talk to other students. So there's time for you to do all of that. But in the meantime, I hope you see that there's a wide variety of majors for you to choose from. Most majors are 8 to 10 courses. And students would typically start taking courses in the major either in sophomore year or certainly by the start of junior year. Most major courses are done in a student's junior and senior year. For right now, I think you're going to find that the curriculum is similar for all majors in terms of what courses you'll be taking this fall, right? So with rare exception, which I'll get to in a moment, regardless of which major you're thinking, you'd be taking the same classes this fall. The one group of majors that are an exception to that would be the following majors. If you're thinking about a major in mathematical science, in data analytics, in actuarial science, or in quantitative economics, then you want to make sure that you're on the Math 131 and Math 139 track for this year. That is our traditional Calculus 1 and Calculus 2 sequence, and those courses are going to serve as prerequisites for the major courses in those 4 majors that I mentioned. Other than that, for the other majors, you'll find that the general education requirements and the GB requirements are pretty consistent across the board. I briefly mentioned the liberal studies major, or the LSM is how we refer to it throughout campus. This is an optional second major for students whose primary major is a Bachelor of Science program. So our Bachelor of Science programs would include any business major or any of the math-related majors that I just referenced. So again, this is an optional second major. It's in the liberal arts. You may have heard about these programs as you were researching schools and learning more about Bentley. And what students are doing is they're taking 8 courses from various disciplines and making connections that relate to the concentration that they've chosen. And so they're drawing connections across those disciplines and seeing how they align with, for example, a concentration in global perspective. Great opportunity for students who are interested in an optional second major. This is also a program, if you're interested in doing so, that you would declare it by the end of sophomore year. So you have some time to explore and learn more about it. And then minors are also an option to students. We have 37 minors currently. You can see them represented here. Minors are typically 4 courses, and some students will approach a minor as a way to develop a skill set that complements their primary major. Other times, students will choose a minor that simply represents an area of personal interest for them. All of those reasons are perfectly rational. You will find that minor courses are typically done in the latter part of a student's tenure, sometimes started in sophomore year. So again, I just put this on your radar so that you can see the variety of minors that are available. A student would be permitted to complete up to 2 minors. 2 would be the max if they can fit that in throughout their coursework. So again, just something to think about and explore as you move through the year. And then study abroad is quite popular among our students. Unfortunately, it's on hold for this year because of the COVID environmental circumstances, but hopefully when things begin to return back to normal, or our new normal, whatever that may be, this will be back on track. Students typically apply to study abroad in sophomore year. That's when they do the application process, and then would go abroad in junior year. That tends to be a time frame that works generally well for most students and enables students to spend their first couple of years getting some of their basic general business or GB requirements done, getting some of their general education requirements done, and really investigate the study abroad opportunity that's going to be a good fit for their interests and their goals, and a program that aligns well with that. We have a variety of programs all over the world, partner schools that we work with. And so what I invite you to do, if you're interested in study abroad, is to stay tuned for emails or other kind of ways that you hear about information sessions and other events that the study abroad office is hosting. And then you can learn more about the programs that are available, whether that's for one term or year long. We have a few that are offered for an entire academic year, and also to learn more about the application process. So when we say what's next, this is part of your kind of to-do list for the fall and into the spring term. First, I want you to feel comfortable asking any and all questions that you have. My hope is that you find that the Bentley community is more than happy to help students kind of find the resource that they need to address the question that they have, whether that's your faculty, staff that you encounter, or your fellow students. Every question is a good one, and we want to help you kind of get the information that you need and not be afraid to ask any question, whether that's in the classroom or out of the classroom. In terms of exploring your options, again, we've talked already about academic opportunities, but I think that exploring your options in terms of co-curricular opportunities is just as important this year. What are the things that you really want to complete throughout your time at Bentley? What are the opportunities available through the university that align with your interests and your skill sets and your goals, and start to just get a sense of what's available to you. Use your resources. Again, I think one of the benefits of being at a small university is that we have a close campus community that enables you to get to know the resources available on campus, to make connections with various faculty and staff. But in terms of resources, if you're not sure where to go for a particular question, I just invite you to kind of present that to whichever faculty or staff or fellow student that you're speaking with. And if they're not the right resource, my hope is that we can help point you in the right direction. And again, making connections is also important. I think that the relationships that you build over the next few years will be some of the most impactful in terms of your Bentley experience, and are oftentimes relationships that stick with you well after you've completed your studies at Bentley and moved on to your professional career. Time management we talked about. I just think it's important to reiterate that this might be a work in progress for you for this fall. Really trying some different approaches and honing in on what are the time management activities that might be most helpful for you. And again, being open to adjusting as you go. Getting involved. This is really where I think your Bentley experience comes to life. What do you choose to do outside of your classroom involvement? What are the student organizations that appeal to you? What are other ways to get involved, whether that's service learning or internships down the road. So really, again, keeping your eyes and ears open to opportunities as you hear about them and exploring those further if they're of interest. In terms of building a plan, Bentley students tend to have a lot on their to-do list over their time with us, whether that's academic or otherwise. And so I think spending some time this year almost having a general outline of what you hope to accomplish over the next few years can be really helpful. What are the things that when you think about, your college experience are really key elements of that for you? And starting to just, again, outline, what that looks like and what are the steps you would need to complete to achieve those goals. And then the flip side of that, of course, is being open to changing the plan. I think there's a lot of learning and growth that happens both inside and outside of the class experience throughout the college years. And so one of the fun things can be if you find that there are new interests or new opportunities that you're not aware of now, but that you discover down the road that maybe send you in a different direction than what you had anticipated. Essentially being open to that, being open to adjusting your plans if you feel like this new path is a better fit for you. From an academic perspective, we certainly work with students who maybe get to the start of junior year and are questioning if the major that they chose is the right one for them. And so they'll oftentimes meet with us to say, if I change to this different major, can I still complete my studies in a timely manner? So this goes back to using your resources as well as you try to build your plan, execute it, and then of course make changes along the way as it may be helpful. This website here is one that I'm going to invite you to maybe take a photo of and bookmark. It is a Keep Learning at Bentley website that was developed earlier this year when we transitioned to a fair amount of online learning due to the coronavirus. I think the resources here, though, may be helpful kind of regardless. As you can see, the 3 categories outlined, some are certainly touching on areas we've already discussed today. But if you want to explore some tips for online learning, you'll find them there. If you want to learn more about group work, which is a key part of many Bentley courses, you'll find that in the communication skills section. Certainly stress management. Being a student certainly has its stressful moments, and there are some really important resources there about self-care and just keeping in tune with kind of your whole self. So I encourage you to explore these resources now in case they might be helpful for you as you begin your studies at Bentley, but also to refer back to them. You might find that things are pretty straightforward at the start of the term and then maybe get a little trickier when you hit midterm exams in October. So again, I encourage you to bookmark this site and use it as a resource throughout the term whenever it may be helpful. Now I want to transition to some details about course modalities. Some of you may already be quite comfortable with this, but because it is a key part of your fall experience, I wanted to spend just a few moments about it, to talk about it. What you'll see at the top in the white box is an example of a course number, course section number. I invite any of you, if you'd like to pull up in Workday your current fall course schedule. You can find that if you click on Academics and then under Planning and Registration, select View My Courses. So the items that you'll see in red is the subject of the course and the course number. The portion in green is going to tell you what the course modality is. More about that in a second. The blue is the section number. And then if there's a letter at the end, that is a representation of the course being an honor section or an intensive section, which you'll see for one IT 101 course, or a pilot course where the faculty member instructing the class is trying out a new instructional approach. So for now, what I want to hone in on is the green section for course modality. So we have 3 different modalities available for this fall. Each of your fall courses should have letters there indicating what the modality is. First is the HB section, right? So that would be hybrid classes. These are the classes that are being offered in a format where the faculty member will be in the classroom, and there will be some students who are also physically in the classroom. Everybody in attendance is wearing a mask and is physically distanced, and because of the physical distance requirements, there's a limited number of students that can be in the classroom at any one time. Therefore, if you have a hybrid section as part of your fall schedule, you will have the option to attend class in person probably once every 2 or 3 class meetings, again, depending on how it works out for that particular course. Your faculty member will make that determination, a rotational schedule that's equitable. But again, it gives students the opportunity to attend class in person periodically if they're either on campus or local to be able to do so and wish to do so. SN is a synchronous online section. You will find that most fall classes are being offered in this format. And this is where the faculty member and all students are all online. Everybody's interacting through an online remote format. For the hybrid sections and the synchronous online sections, all classes that have that modality meet in real time. So when you see a class time in your schedule, you're expected to be present either in person if you have that option through hybrid, or online for the time span indicated. For those of you who might be attending class from home in different time zones, please note that any time that you see indicated would be Eastern time, and so to be cognizant and plan for that. An asynchronous online class would have an AL included in the section number, and this is the one that's not time bound. So in this case, the students who are participating in the class will be doing the work essentially on their own timeline. So the faculty member will establish the deliverables for the class and the deadlines for each, and the students have the option to essentially get that work done. They might be watching pre-recorded lectures, there might be discussion boards, things like that. But there's not a set time each week that the class is meeting. So it's a little more of an independent approach to the class, but also offers some scheduling flexibility. So if you have an asynchronous online course as part of your fall schedule, I encourage you to give some thought as to whether that format feels comfortable for you. I also want to mention that course modality could change at any time. Some of you may have already seen this impact your fall schedule. So as external circumstances evolve, as personal circumstances perhaps for the faculty member take place, you might see that the modality changes. So just keep an eye out for that. I should also mention that you should be receiving from your faculty member, perhaps via email or perhaps via Blackboard, which is our kind of online course tool, the Zoom link for each of your courses. So that should be forthcoming if you have not already received it. So now in terms of kind of potential changes to your fall schedule, questions about your fall schedule, the advising team is going to be available this afternoon between 12 and 4 p.m. Eastern via Zoom to assist you with that. For those of you who are maybe interested in making a change to your fall schedule, Add, Swap, Drop opens for you at noon today. So this will be your first opportunity to make a change since your initial registration period closed on July 22nd. The Add Swap portion of this, so really your opportunity to kind of change courses or change sections, ends on Monday, September 7th. And that's really important because by then you will really want your fall schedule sorted and in a place that you feel content moving forward. The Add Swap deadline falls on the Labor Day holiday. And so what that means is that if you're looking to connect with an advisor, you'll want to do that either this afternoon or next week. I'm going to give you information in a moment about our drop-in and pop-up events for next week. But you'll want to connect with an advisor by Friday afternoon, Friday, September 4th in the afternoon, if you're looking to connect with an advisor before you make changes to your schedule. Because of the holiday and because of the weekend preceding it, we would not be available on those 3 days. And so this would be a wonderful opportunity if you have questions about why you have certain courses in your schedule, if you can change certain things, please connect with us in one of these formats. So in the box, you'll find the Zoom meeting ID for this afternoon. Again, that's 12 to 4 p.m. Eastern time. And so I invite you to join that session. You'll find that it might be group sizing, depending on the number of students. We'll have breakout rooms and there might be more than one student per room. And again, this is your opportunity to ask questions about your fall schedule, potential changes that you want to make, if you're looking to make sense of your advanced standing credit. I do also want to pause here to remind students that if you have any advanced standing credit that's either already been awarded or that you're still working through with the admission office, you'll want to be paying careful attention to your fall schedule and make sure that you're not taking a course that is the same content as advanced standing credit that you've been awarded or think you might be awarded. Again, you can talk this through with us today, but if you get, for example, AP credit or IB credit or credit from college coursework you did over the summer, once you get credit for that class, you can't take the same class at Bentley, not that you would want to. So we just want to make sure that your fall schedule is appropriate based on any either awarded or expected credit that you might receive. So as you look to make changes to your fall schedule, the biggest question is going to be, what are the open course sections that you have to choose from? The course availability, once Add, Drop, Swap opens, can and does change by the minute. And I say that just so that you are not surprised if you look at 2 o'clock and a GB 112 section was open and then by 2:05 that section was closed again. That can and does happen. It also means that what you're seeing for availability today, this afternoon when Add, Drop, Swap opens for you, might be different than the availability that you'll see on Monday. Probably will be different. So as you explore potential courses that are open and that you might want to swap into, you're going to go to Workday and use Bentley Find Course Sections. So once you log in, click Academics, and then under Planning and Registration, select Bentley Find Course Sections there. And the second step, you're going to enter Fall 2020 as the term, or you can use the navigation menus to get to Fall 2020, and then Academic Level is Undergraduate. And then you have the opportunity to search by course. You can select Open as the section status. There are also other filters that you might use. Those filters are all on the left side of that screen. And that would be filtering for things like a meeting pattern, or if you're in the honors program and you're looking for an honors section of X-Files 101, that type of information you can sort by using those filters. The key thing when you're looking at this information is right under the course section information and the title of the course, you want to see if it says open or closed. Open would mean that there are spots in the class available. If you see closed, then that would be a course that's not available to swap into at the current time. And then when you are actually looking to make changes to your schedule, also you're going to use Workday for this. We encourage you to essentially stay in Workday when you're just changing a course or two and not utilize Schedule Planner. Schedule Planner is fantastic when you are building an initial schedule, but when you're just making a change or two to classes you already have, Workday tends to be the more efficient way to go about that. So you can find detailed step-by-step instructions on our new student advising webpage, but I also wanted to outline them here. So when you're ready to make a change, you would go back into Workday, click Academics, View My Courses, and then you're going to see a table that outlines your fall course schedule. And if you scroll to the right of each class, you're going to see two buttons there, a drop button and a swap button. It's going to be very tempting to click on the drop button, but I encourage you to not do so. And here's why. If you drop a course, let's say it is GB 112, if you drop the section that you have, and if by the time you go to add the new section that you are looking to enroll in, if that course section fills up before you can add it, then you're going to find that now you don't have the old section, right? If you use the swap button, what that does is it's kind of like a mini insurance policy. It holds your spot in the section of GB 112 that you're currently enrolled in, and only drops you from that section if it can get you into the new section. So that can be a really helpful tool as you go to make changes. And again, as I had mentioned earlier, because course availability can change quickly at this time, it typically represents the safer approach to doing that. And again, we're happy to work with you this afternoon to help you navigate this, this portion of Workday if that may be helpful. So once you initiate the swap button, then Workday is going to ask if you're looking to swap sections or swap for a new course. So you indicate that, you enter the information for that new course or that new section, confirm it, and then click OK. And then you'll want to check your schedule and make sure that the change went through as you had expected. So overall, when you think about your fall schedule and which classes are included and potential changes you might want to make, let's first focus on the blue box on the left. So everybody should have first year seminar as a required course for this fall. A reminder, first year seminar is only 1 credit, meets just once a week for about the first 10 weeks of the term. Everybody should have GB 112 as a must-take course. Your first math class, so this will typically be either Math 131, Math 123, or Math 123L. The primary exception to that would be for students who have advanced standing credit, right? So if that's AP or IB or whatever, then they might not be taking Math 1 this fall. Your first expository writing class. So if your expository writing placement was XPOS 101L, XPOS 102, or XPOS 102L, that course is a must-take for you for this fall, as it is if you are in the honors program. Then XPOS 101 honors would be required for this fall. Then we encourage you to select one of the following 3 courses for the fall, either GB 110, IT 101, or PH 101. And then for many of you, there's another general education requirement that's probably rounding out your schedule, depending on the selections you've made and prior credit you may have. So some key things to keep in mind. Your must-take courses are exactly that. So you want to make sure that if you make changes to your schedule, you're going back in and checking to make sure that it still includes all of those must-take classes. If possible, keep at least 1 or more of those first-year classes, again, depending upon your expository writing circumstances. Remember your placements. So those were determined by the Math Department and the English and Media Studies Department for the writing course. If you have questions about your placements, you can reach out to the faculty members who oversee that placement process in each department. We encourage you to watch and be careful of the spacing of your courses throughout the week. Really try to spread your courses out throughout your weekdays. In addition, a reminder that we recommend that students take no more than 2 academic courses in a row and no more than 3 academic courses in a day. And when I say academic courses, I'm referring to anything other than first year seminar, right? And what that does is it just gives you a little bit of breathing room, particularly when it comes to learning a lot of content in one day or at key portions of the semester where you might have papers and exams and projects that are due at the same time. A reminder that if you're in the honors program, you should have 3 honors sections on your schedule for this fall. First year seminar, expository writing 101, and then either GB 110 or GB 112 honors. And that for most students, you'll be looking at a total of 16 credits for this fall. So that typically represents 5 academic courses at 3 credits each, and then your first year seminar at 1 credit. So I previously presented our drop-in information that's just for new students this afternoon via Zoom. What's outlined here are the extended drop-ins and pop-up academic advising events that we'll be hosting next week. This is for all Bentley students, so it'll be a lot busier next week. But I also invite you, if you want to grab a photo of this so that you have the Zoom meeting information. This is also on our website. But again, if you have questions next week, this would be how you would connect with an advisor, and we're happy to address whatever questions may arise. Most of our efforts next week are really going to be focused on students' fall schedules and questions that relate directly to that. But if you have general questions, we're happy to address those as time permits. I will let you know that our drop-ins and our pop-up academic advising sessions, as I mentioned previously, are typically group advising, depending on how busy things are, and tend to be about 10-minute conversations. We do have the option for students to schedule appointments after the first couple of weeks of the term, which would allow more time for a student to ask a series of questions to an advisor. And then the last thing I just wanted to mention is how you can contact our office. You can see our contact information there. I wanted to mention a reminder that your assigned academic advisor for this year is your first year seminar instructor. And then as you head into your second year at Bentley, you'll be assigned an advisor in our office. That being said, you are welcome to connect with us, and we want you to throughout this year. So whether that's through drop-ins that we host on weekdays throughout the term, whether it's through an appointment that you schedule in Workday, or if you attend our events throughout the term, we really look forward to working with you this year and beyond. So with that, I wish you all the best for a wonderful semester, and I hope you enjoy the balance of orientation.
Thank you so much, Valerie, and thank you everyone for joining us at this academic overview. We would now like to invite you to join us for our next session, How to Be Successful in GB 112 and 212, which will begin in about 10 minutes at 10:45. Please check your Bentley Connect portal for the link to this session. Thank you.